Ah, thank goodness. The monkey is monkey at the helm. Okay. Hello. Good evening or morning or whatever time you're watching. This is Pilar. Welcome to Essential Living with Pilar, a show about all things holistic, all things regarding aligning with all life and the cosmos, if you will. Respect and reverence for life, how to live a more balanced life and experience and in harmony with the planet and all life upon it, whatever topics pertain to that. This is what this show is for, because I like sharing what I've learned, and I've taken a lot of time and energy to investigate a lot of ways to just be a better person, be a better human, be a better global citizen and contributor to the wellness of our own lives, and also that way having a better experience to contribute to the planet and having the ability to contribute more to life in general by being better ourselves, basically setting our own inner house in order first, because we always live within our own bubble, right? Our own bubble of, we can't get away from ourselves. We live within our own aura, within our own bubble of energy, of consciousness, all the same thing, really. We live within the sphere of our own thoughts and emotions, and that is what we project. The first ones to receive that is ourselves, and then we send it out to the world, and that picks up like energy and comes right back. The law of the circle and the law of attraction, same thing. That's just how it works. So setting our own house in order, as I like to call it, is both literal and metaphoric, because our bodies, for example, our inner being, are where we dwell to begin with. That experience expands into our actual house or living environment, and that expands into everything else. So the topic of today is we're going to talk about chakras. Chakras, you can find a lot of stuff about chakras online, books. It's very broad and, more and more well-known subject. But I like to, kind of expand on it a little bit deeper in certain ways. So I thought it would be a good topic to cover, because not only, we know from researching or just even hearing that they are energy centers. So we basically have that idea, that concept down. The concept of the word chakra means wheel, and there's a reason. So we're going to go into all of those details. But they're basically the energy centers, are basically our powerhouse in a certain order to make. There is a transferring of consciousness, as well as what gives life and energy to each part of our physical body. And I don't know whether or not a lot of people realize that everything that's intangible manifests in the tangible. So part of the chakra centers, and that is very important, is that the chakras are directly related to our endocrine system. There are ductless glands that secrete all the chemicals that we produce to function and to create and to manifest in all ways. And it is also the part that maintains life. So I find that fascinating, especially when people begin to have disorders, of certain parts of the body. Usually it started a long time before by thoughts and emotions that created a habitual consciousness that starts creating a habitual function in the body that continues to produce certain chemicals habitually. So in general, if somebody is always, for example, sad or angry, they're going to be always producing those chemicals that are related to those emotions, because the brain will trigger the production of certain substances, which we call hormones. Basically, they are the liquids and the alchemy of life in all ways. And I believe, without a doubt, myself, and I just share what I believe, not that you have to believe it, but I'll just share it for your consideration and contemplation, that what we experience and the erosion or the buildup that we give ourselves on all levels is going to manifest physically. And I'll probably talk about this more specifically in another episode, but aging in particular is due to a lot of wear and tear. I mean, historically we know that, and now scientifically we know clearly and without a doubt that our bodies are meant to function a lot longer than generally they do. But because we have a habitual mass consciousness of behaving, feeling, acting, we have bought into this cycle that life needs to be a certain span. So we're hypnotized by that, and so we accept that. So whatever we accept, we believe, and whatever we believe, we manifest. So in the topic of chakras, basically how they function and in their optimal functioning potential, the fact that they're called wheels is for a specific reason. They are meant to be an energetic flux that works in a clockwise motion. And that is how the energy fluctuates through each energy center. We're mostly concerned with the 7 energy centers that are within our physical body. There are more energy centers above us because there's more to us than this little physical structure. We do expand more, but for the sake of practicality, we're just going to cover those. We do have the 7. They're the 7 energy centers that make our bodies animated and function, and like I said, give us life and sustain life, produce life, and create, because we are creators, and that is what is creating. Whether or not we realize it, we're always creating something. We either do it on purpose and consciously or by default. So each one has a function. We know that the standard description of chakras also has a different color assigned to each one. But I think there was a devolution of how the chakras work, because I do believe that once we first came on to our individualization on this planet, we were a lot more harmoniously functioning than we are now. So we went through a cycle of decline, and hopefully we are in that upward swing. So the chakra colors that we know of go in a certain order, but I'm going to give the optimal functioning of each one. If you think about it, the first chakra, and we're going to go through each one now. The first chakra is the one at the base of our hips, at the root and the sacral part of our spinal cord, and that is called the root chakra. That chakra is concerned with our survival mechanism, is competition, is that more, for lack of a bit, I don't like to compare it to an animalistic tendency, because I think animal life mimics us. But anyway, is that survival, competitive, aggressive, if pushed that way, is that very base, overly sexually active, but again, it's because it's out of balance. But if you think about it, as we have heard the word Kundalini, it's a coil. It's an electrical coil that has our. It really functions through our whole spinal cord. That is our electrical. I don't know, for people that are more knowledgeable with electricity, and it's like a pole where all the plugs are in, where you can connect everything, and it gives life to everything. And that's where all our organs are connected. The bottom one, the one in the root, is where the coil of the most amount of energy is stored. And if you think, I like to think of it in terms of an elevator. You know, that energy is meant to rise, because as that energy rises, we become more empowered with our higher centers and in better balance. So we reach up the higher level of consciousness, where if we're always stuck in the survival mode and of fear and just safety, fearing for our safety, guarded, then there's that imbalance. So that I think is why that chakra became represented by the color red, because it's that intense, it's a lower vibration because of that constant survival mode that most of humanity is bound by. And that is, I think, subconsciously what leads to that obsessive need to procreate and hyperactive in sexuality, which is out of balance and is very draining. Because if that energy is meant to be rising, to enliven the whole body and supply that energy charge throughout the whole body, including especially the brain, we're constantly draining that energy from below the belt, if you will. So that causes wear and tear in the rest of the body functions, where erosion comes in, and decline and decay and demise. In its pure balanced state, that really is a chakra that is related to the color white. That white is that contains all colors, and if you think of the power of that color white, how bright that light would shoot up and enliven all the rest of the centers if we pull up that energy consciously and direct it to the higher centers. The next chakra, which is the navel chakra, is usually represented by the color orange. That's where the sexual organs actually are, is the reproductive organs. So that is the relating physical organs to that energy center. And it's the creative center. But we're not only meant to be creative as far as procreating other human beings. That creative center is where you can raise that energy starts to raise those chemicals up into creating from a higher super consciousness and manifesting things other than more of us. Where we can get in touch with our real talents, our real specific, unique contribution that we can make in any sort of self-expression, not just more of us. And as you go up to the center, if you think about the solar plexus chakra, which is the one right here in the center, the third, that is the most heavily charged with electrical currents. That is usually represented with the color yellow, and that one I do think that is an accurate color. Back down to the second one that I was talking about the orange chakra in its balanced state is really the color, and people will argue with me maybe or maybe not think that I'm right, but it's what resonates with me, is the color violet. The color violet is the seventh ray of manifestation. So in its balanced optimal state, that is the navel chakra. I mean, that navel chakra is the one that is the most productive in bringing the idea into physicality and the creation into physicality. The solar plexus is our fight or flight. So if you think about the organs related to that, the kidneys and adrenals, that fear, that nervousness, that anxiety. It affects the digestive system when it's out of balance. So all of those disorders and diseases come about by the wear and tear of always being in that, producing those chemicals that are taking away energy from the function of the respiratory system, the circulatory system, and even optimal brain function. Nobody can make a clear decision from a state of anxiety and fear. So it's kind of what the underlying current of all society is living as, and it's really not a good thing. It's kind of a tragic thing that we cannot achieve that sense of peace and safety, and that is really because all the majority of of course our torso, all our organs, a lot of them are right there. They need extra energy to function optimally, and again, erosion, wear and tear, where that can be the sun presence of peace in a golden radiance, our sun presence that is really that connection to our source and expanding outwardly. As we go up, the next, and that is the one that divides the human, which is the below that, from the higher energy centers that are connected with Supreme Being, with our source, with our I am presence, which is that connection to the divine and to the source of life. As we get up to the heart chakra, if everything is being drained down here, there's not that elevator technically, as it were, doesn't reach it to the top floor. So by this being in fight or flight, think about what that does to the heart. Instead of being an open, loving, expressing tolerance and harmony and divine love and gratitude and appreciation for life, if it is getting caught in just wear and tear, it doesn't. You don't put your heart into anything. So there's that apathy. There's a laziness. There's a lack of enthusiasm for life because there's just literally that. As the saying goes, and all of these sayings that we're familiar with come from the fact that they came from reality, from understanding how things work. So if your heart's not in it, you don't care. But that is the most, one of the most powerful energy centers that are able to radiate outward and have the spirit join with our consciousness, or rather our consciousness join with spirit and just really expand into our high creator centers. The throat chakra, think of how many people have throat or problems with their endocrine system in the thyroid. The throat chakra is the will. So it is the power chakra. This is the power you create by the spoken word, is how you invoke, is your power of invocation. And so what you call forth, you bring to you. And so when that is stifled, when nobody's expressing in a balanced way, it becomes a knot, a lump in your throat, something that is blocked. Anything that's blocked or suppressed or misaligned starts creating either growths or malfunctions of every kind. So the throat chakra is a blue, beautiful shade of electric blue. And that is the color of power, is the color of initiation. It is the color of, it's really a masculine energy, because that is the thrust of energy going forward to summon a creation. So when that is suppressed, when people lose their will to do anything, they don't believe that they have the ability or strength or power to be who they are. So they don't manifest anything. They have a lack of willpower. So nothing really gets accomplished. As we go up some more into the higher chakra, the third eye. The third eye is really the pituitary and the pineal gland. At one point, in some archives, it is said that it was originally one gland together. And that is the all-seeing eye of God. That's when we had that ability awakened and alive and functioning in full force. However, as we began to lose sight of things, that split into the two, so creating the arch that we don't see clearly. We just see a certain amount of what is actually there. And it is scientifically proven that the eye has a certain capacity to perceive. And it perceives a lot more than the brain interprets at any one given moment, because our focus and our attention is so pulled away by the mundane. So we don't access that clarity, and those two glands, by wear and tear again. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that we take in as food and other substances that is very erosive to those glands. And those are the master glands of our whole metabolism. They're the ones that run the show chemically. So when those two are out of balance, all our hormone production is out of balance, and therefore erosion, decline, decay, and demise. And so that is the habitual wave of events that humans have fallen into for so long, that it's kind of mutated into the DNA, where it just keeps, because our cells keep splitting in a less than optimal way. So, but we don't know that we can do something about it while we can. The higher chakra, which is the crown chakra. Oh wait, back here, I didn't say color. Back to this color, an emerald green, bright emerald green is the color associated with this chakra. It is the color of truth. It's sort of like a searchlight that is also the color of focus, concentration, consecration. So in order to create something or bring something to fruition, you have to concentrate and consecrate a certain amount of your life to it. Because if you don't stick to it, or if you don't bring it to completion, is when that vision, you lose sight of things. You lose sight of your purpose. You lack focus. So, if you think about all of those things make sense, and they manifest in our bodies, and they produce or don't produce the right amount of chemicals that make each part of our body functions, but it's really all energetic, because these centers are energetically functioning at a vibration that we either bring down or raise up. And if you think about it, they function clockwise. And if you think of in terms of a fan or a propeller on a plane, so you can see how easily, an obvious analogy that is, that the faster that the blades spin, you don't see them. So that's when they're functioning at their highest level of vibration. So nothing negative can get attached to it if something is at a high enough vibration, if it's spinning at a high enough level. So if you can't have flies don't stick to you can't have a fly sit on a spinning propeller. It'll either get crushed or fly off. as it were. So you can compare that to all the sticky, annoying stuff that can come your way. So if you're vibrating at a certain level and operating at a certain level, aware of what's happening, you can repel anything else that is going to bring you down and reduce your optimal level of creation, of function, of self-expression. The crown chakra is up here. This is the fountain. This is the silver cord, the invisible silver cord from where we get our connection to life. This is where the source of your higher self, it comes through this chakra. This is a chakra, an energy center that does not have any negative connotations to it. Nothing can tarnish it. However, it is mostly undeveloped by most people on the planet, almost, at an alarming rate. Most people have that closed off. And if you think how much we've mutated that, when babies are born, they have that soft little spot that's open, which is okay to be open, but we have closed that off. So then as the body solidifies, it starts to close that little opening, just because it's become a genetic, but not genetic in different people, a human genetic mutation of our physical body. But nonetheless, that is where your wisdom comes. That's where, if one, in Hindu or Eastern philosophies, that's called the 1,000-petal lotus, because there is no negative anything attached to that chakra. If you choose to focus on it and access it and spend time cultivating it, that's where all your wisdom, all the access of your guidance is going to come through. So, that's just kind of a brief, basic explanation of the energy centers that we know as chakras, but realize that when they're out of balance, it's hindering, when you're spiritually, mentally, and emotionally all over the place and not in alignment and in harmony and in a steady functioning mode, know that it is affecting your physical body. But it is starting not from the physical weakness, but it's from your consciousness, what's going through mind and emotions habitually every day. And it's not who you are by nature, it's who you've made a habit to be. So little by little, please know that all of these things can be returned to their highest optimal function. And we are here to be creators, and we have to get out of our own rut in order to make a difference. So I encourage everybody to meditate upon these things and know that it's time to let go of a lot of stuff, and use the eclipse energy to let go of the old you. And if you think of yourself as a glass of water under a faucet, try to align all those energy cups so that energy from the silver cord can go through and you don't spill who you are. If you have any questions, or you want to work more in depth with any of these topics, I would encourage you to contact me, email me, essentiallivingwithpilar@gmail.com, and I'm glad to share more. So thank you. That's the topic for today, and we'll explore some more next time we meet. We'll probably have a discussion soon. We'll go into yoga and what that actually does mechanically, as well as dream interpretation. So that's coming up soon in the next episodes of Essential Living with Pilar. And thank you.